So we look now at some of the minor characters. So we're going on to section 3, we're looking at Slim. And we first find the reverence in which Slim is held in the novel, and obviously the strength that he has in the novel. George looked over at Slim and saw the calm, godlike eyes fastened on him. Obviously, so the calm, godlike and fastened, you can analyse those three to any degree that you actually want. It shows that he's a calming presence, which is important because obviously he has a role to play at the end when after what George has done. Godlike, obviously, kind of like, sees all, knows all, and obviously very kind of aware of what's going on in the ranch in some way, but also godlike in this kind of way as the as the figure that people confide in and talk to, like kind of in confession. Slim sat in silence for a moment. Obviously he kind of just sits and thinks and deliberates. He takes his time over stuff. He's not kind of short and a firecracker like kind of some of the other characters, most notably Curly. And he kind of comments on Lenny, saying he ain't mean. And then when there's a decision to be made, then here he actually looks at the dog. He's actually watching him with calm eye, and he's actually thinking about what to do best in the situation. And obviously we're given the strength of his opinions here, again referring to obviously the godlike stuff, law, biblical law. Everyone kind of follows what he's actually saying in and of the time, and it's quite interesting because it says the opinions are law, which kind of actually references just how little, or the distinct, should I say, lack of other intelligent people who know stuff around there, and Slim's kind of been given this mantle by default. And it also kind of gives us an interesting contradiction or contrast, should I say, to Crooks, who is also very intelligent and well read, but obviously his opinions, and he says himself, is when I talk, it's just a nigger talking. So he's actually completely dismissed in anything he says. Candy looked a long time at Slim to try and find some reversal. So here it's like Slim is kind of like a judge and jury, and obviously Slim gives none. So again, it's just that reference to the power that he holds over the place. And obviously all of this is kind of setting up towards just the hierarchy in the ranch and how people treat each other, and obviously the idea of the kind of world within a world, the laws that are actually set within a place, obviously where so many different people will just come in and float out. Well, you ask me too often. Yeah, he says this when it gets to the point that Curly's actually turning around and asking him about his wife. So actually he mentions his frustration straight up to Curly, and it's quite interesting because we've got to kind of see Curly kind of get dominated almost, or at least kind of put in his place by everyone else before what happens with Lenny kind of shows he's just trying to take out his anger. So here he puts him down, and then after this Carlson puts him down. Then after that, even Candy has a dig at him, and then obviously all that kind of builds into him just taking it all out on Lenny. And he's very kind of commanding in this, you lay off me. And then he's actually going to do something about it when Curly starts hitting Lenny. He says, "The dirty little rat, I'm going to get him myself." And so it's interesting here that the animals as well that Curly is referenced to, obviously he's called a rat, and later on he's called a terrier, kind of these small darting creatures, whereas obviously Lenny's a bear and a horse, big powerful creatures. And also we've got at the end of this, after, and this is really interesting, he smiles wryly, almost like a justice has been served, when Crook's hand is smashed up. So again, it kind of shows his authority, his knowingness, and that he knows everything will be okay. And moreover, like, again, he's kind of pleased in a way that justice has been served. So we move on then to Candy, and we've got the idea that Candy says, I've been around my dog so much, I never notice how he stinks. And maybe that's a reference to the fact that, he only sees the good in his dog. So it's not really... It's a good relationship for him that way. And obviously there's a contrast there between George and Lenny's relationship, even though they got that master dog kind of element going on. George is always too quick to point out how kind of how much Lenny stinks, quite metaphorically, in his behavior, in terms of always getting him into trouble, etc. Candy is really upset, and he at the idea of having to have his dog put down. He looks around unhappily, and again he looks a long time at Slim, trying to find some reversal. So again, this is kind of like all his hopes, but he doesn't have the courage to stand up for himself, which is quite interesting because he doesn't stand up for himself here, but when it's to someone lower down than him in the food chain that actually he wants to, or presumably lower down than him in the hierarchy, should I say, he does stand up for himself. So later on when he's in the bunkhouse and, he really tells Curly's wife to, just get away from them, and he stands up for himself. Could that be because here he's just kind of gone out with the whimper, or could it be because here he won't do it because the rest of them are, all kind of younger, fitter men who are all higher up the chain than him? Obviously, if the chance arises, you can judge and discuss that as much as you want. As Carlson leads the dog out, everyone watches except Candy, obviously again showing a weakness, showing the loneliness, showing the sadness, that his dog is actually going to be taken, or his dog and friend is going to be taken out and executed. And then we've got this silence, this sadness, this kind of all the things that are unsaid. There's no tenderness, there's no it's for the best. There's no kind of conversation that actually kind of shows that this could be a good thing for the dog. It's just kind of like supposed to have been left and done with in a manly way. For a moment he continued to stare at the ceiling after the dog has been killed, and then he rolls over slowly and face the wall and lay silent. So it's like a part of him dies there as well. He just kind of rolls over and he lays silent. Something in him is gone there. And then when he actually kind of tries to get involved with the dream, that's really important because he just kind of peeks up again from this almost like this mini death in a way, and then he says, a place like that, and he's really kind of taken by the idea. He really wants to get on board, and it's really important that he says here, I ain't much good with only one hand. I lost my right hand here on this ranch, and that obviously shows that he's only got this job, this favourable position at this ranch because the accident happened to him there, but he wouldn't get it again in the future, and he knows that, and he's afraid now, especially with what's happened to his dog. He's very much afraid that what's happened to his dog will happen to him, because he's aware that he isn't much good, and he's aware again the fact that he emphasises that happened on this ranch shows that he knows that anywhere else he won't get the same kind of treatment, or won't get the same kind of opportunity.